Sit right over there, my dear.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Blum will be in just a few minutes.
He will be shortly.
I'm Ron Blum. I live and work in Patton, Maine as a family physician. I really enjoy my practice here, but the sad reality of it is the office practice isn't adequate to support me as a physician and my family.
No.
Here? Good. Several years ago, my accountant suggested I just close the office. From a business point of view, I'm not really making any money there. But I couldn't walk away from patients I've been taking care of for over 30 years.
Primary care in America is really facing a crisis, that it's very difficult to get qualified, committed physicians who want to choose the lifestyle that is required to provide primary care.
There is no doubt that primary care has already collapsed. There is no supply of physicians doing primary care.
As our population grows, we certainly continue to need primary care physicians. Whether or not the population sees this as a problem with primary care, I don't know.
If you look at the current healthcare system, we have about a little over 700,000 practicing physicians, and we know that about a third of them are already planning to retire in the next 10 years. We are going to have a crisis like you cannot imagine.
Even though the healthcare debate in this country is largely over, there is still plenty of disagreement over whether we are headed in the right direction. But the one point virtually everyone agrees on is that there are not enough primary care doctors to meet current needs.
I think we're already starting to see some of the impact of the realities of primary care, meaning people who are baby boomers in medicine like myself who are primary care docs. We're not quite at retirement age, but we're coming pretty close. And the pipeline has not been refilled, meaning our replacements are not going to come along at the pace that we're needed to meet the needs of our society.
Okay. Have you ever thought about what would happen if there weren't a doctor to see you? As the first line of defense in treating medical issues, the challenge of finding enough primary care physicians to fill the pipeline is daunting. No part of the country is immune. From the rural farmland, to the suburbs, to the inner city, all Americans will soon have to find a doctor to provide long-term preventive care. With this national epidemic on the horizon, Dr. Patricia Noble, a pediatrician in Lincoln, Maine, knows there will always be a need for doctors. But what happens when there aren't any around?
People are always going to want to have a doctor. And so they'll call around until they find someone who will be their doctor. And their doctor is almost always going to be a primary care doctor, whether it's a pediatrician or a internist or a family practitioner or an obstetrician gynecologist. They're all primary care doctors. Before you get this, I think when people can't find a doctor or the doctors are all full up, then they begin thinking there's not enough doctors to see me. But I don't know if people are realizing that there aren't enough primary care doctors being trained. Beautifully. I'm of an age where it's time to be thinking about retirement. I've been worrying for 2 or 3 years about what happens when we close the door to Noble Clinic. But right now I'm stuck in the position of thinking that I'm important and what am I going to do and how can I really bow out. It's probably not realistic to think someone is going to take over the practice, and so it probably will eventually close its doors. We'll transfer our records to whoever our patients want to be their next doctor. I don't know who that will be, though.
Present models of care are great for physicians. They just happen to be terrible for patients and the profession. The mix of providers is really governed by supply, and the supply for rural areas is extremely limited. It takes us about 10 years to recruit one physician.
Having a sufficient supply of primary care physicians is not just a problem in rural areas, but in all communities nationwide. Harvard Medical School is working to prepare students to become primary care physicians. But as Dr. Valerie Stone at Massachusetts General Hospital notes, there are a lot of challenges awaiting students interested in going into primary care.
The job opportunities are numerous. However, there's some challenges. One of the things that concerns many people is what's called the uncontrollable lifestyle in primary care, where in fact the doctor feels responsible for their patients 24/7. Basically, every day of the week and 24 hours a day, and most young people aren't looking for jobs like that anymore. The other one is the issue that most people these days want to be an expert, and it feels like the knowledge base for primary care is potentially so large that it may be too vast to be knowable for many, and that's a concern. And then finally, the compensation in primary care is lower than most other medical specialties. And when you're talking about the largest knowledge base and the most amount of time being on call, it seems like a mismatch for the compensation to be lower. So those are the challenges in filling primary care. It makes burnout common or possible, and it also are things that we think the healthcare system ought to be addressing.